Hey yo, what's going on guys? It's Mike Reed here. Welcome back to another toy review by yours truly. And as you would expect, this is it guys. The big one. The one that you've, I'm sure, have all been waiting for and I have been very eager to show off. As you guys might remember from my holiday video, I was quite excited for this set when I got it because first of all, I wasn't expecting it, and two, this is better than like any car I could have gotten this year because of all the things I could have gotten, being the self-proclaimed Lego Jay Leno himself, you know, connoisseur himself, right? Yeah, this thing is just, let's just get into it because finally we're taking a look at the big one. Yes, my friends. Today we are taking a look at the Lego Technic Mars Crew Exploration Rover. Oh boy, this thing is amazing. I'm just going to say that for the record. And I've just finished it this morning at the time this is being recorded. Finally. And, oh, this thing is just... Yes, chef's kiss. Anyway, so take a look at the box here. This thing is fantastic looking. Of course, they have the Lego Technic logo first and foremost, as per usual, with a wonderful showcase of the Mars Crew Exploration Rover looking very, very just final boss. I mean, this thing is just awesomeness personified. This thing is just the penultimate just brouhaha of vehicles, honestly. Like, I love this thing, evidently. Of course, we have the Lego Space logo, because this is part of their space initiative. They kicked off mid to late last year. Crazy to say now that it's already last year. But anyway, inspired by NASA Mars Rover concepts, so that is very exciting. Of course, on this side, there would be another Lego Space logo, but of course, because I've already opened the box, it's just covered up in this sort of black, starry sort of background there. Of course, on the back here, we do get a very nice showcase of all the things it does. It does this, that, the other, and all these things and stuff, and so that's one of the secrets. Also, we have a little link there for the QR code right there. You can scan that. Probably gives you some extra bonus and goodies and where case may be. Of course, on this side, we have another Lego Technic logo with, of course, another shot of the Exploration Rover. Of course, at the top here, we get another Lego Technic logo. Of course, we have another shot of the rover. And we get an actual size of the wheel, so you can kind of get an idea how just absolutely colossal this thing is. And then, of course, at the bottom, we just have another Lego Technic logo and just some other legal jargon. Alright, so with the box out of the way, we're actually going to have to make some room real quick. Let's go ahead and take a look at the actual rover itself. Are you guys ready? On the count of three, I'm going to pull off this little sheet here, just because I feel like shaking things up a little bit today. Let's go ahead and reveal the rover. 1, 2, 3. How awesome is this? Yes, this is the Mars Crew Exploration Rover, all fully built, and this thing looks fantastic. I mean, my goodness. I thought that I knew this thing was going to be good already just from the box itself, but actually having it built is a whole nother ballgame because I didn't realize it was going to be this big. So first and foremost, obviously, I can't even bring out my turntable for this because this thing's just that big. And yeah, evidently on first impressions, very impressive looking, I realize. And don't worry, it's just as impressive as it looks. So where do I even begin with this? First of all, let me try to give you guys at least some idea of the 360 as to just how big this thing is. I mean, just the sheer size of this thing is amazing. And considering, right, all the other space sets they've done for this Lego Space Initiative that they kicked off mid last year, this thing is just... this thing is just final boss, you know, like you're like, you know, the secret final boss, just whatever final boss. This thing is just awesomeness personified, just so good. So let's go ahead and just start from the front, if we can actually show off the front. as you guys can see, does look quite menacing from the front. Of course, we have all these lights and flashy bits on the front. So just so you guys can kind of get an idea here, look at the ground clearance on this too. I mean, just my goodness. Of course, we have all these lights and all these nice, beautiful brick-built detail on it. And of course, like anything that I've shown off in my collection, it does in fact have a accessible cockpit. So if we flip this front part forward and we go ahead and get the camera just right, you guys can see all the lovely detail in there. So if I zoom in, you guys can see it has a very nicely detailed dashboard where you can see all the little like warnings. You got like a little reticle and all these little lights and everything, which is very, very cool. And what I'm guessing is how you turn the Rover on and off, because believe it or not, this is classified as a Rover. I know, crazy, considering Percy from last year, but or Perseverance. But of course, then we have the little dashboard there as well, which again is really nicely detailed. Got some little like, got some different meters and various different gobbledygook and, techno jargon on there. Of course, you have the little steering wheel because this is actually the driver's seat, and it actually is labeled as well with, as you can see, the number 1 there, and you got all these different seat belts, in our case maybe, so that way there's no possible way you're falling out of this thing or getting into some sort of accident, which, by the way, if you somehow manage to get into an accident with this thing, I think the worst that's going to happen is maybe like some minor scuffing, because to be honest, I think this thing would damage another Rover more so than it would get damage itself. That's just how impressive this thing is, and just how just chunky it is. Of course, you have the other seat over there as well, looking very, very nice. And we also do get a little teaser if we go back here into some of the internal detail, because evidently there's quite the number of details on this thing. And of course, you flip the cockpit back up like that, and that's how you close it. So very simple to open and very easy to close. Very simple. Of course, on this side, we get some more techno detail here. And of course, we get the old school space logo from the old Lego Space. Really nice callback to that. Of course, we get LT80 right there, which I don't think is a reference to anything, though it very well could be, so feel free to correct me in the comments. And then, of course, we have this whole midsection here. Now, of course, as you would expect, it does, in fact, open. And as you'll see on the top, it does have some nice stickered detail on there. Got some little arrows, got some warning signs, got some vents. Very nice stuff. So opening it up, you can see all of this lovely detail. So I think we'll start on this side with the little gym area. So you can see it has a little toilet there, which is oddly well detailed for a toilet. Of course, we have, I believe this is supposed to be like a little like mini fridge, or maybe it's a weighing thing. No idea. And then over here we got, of course, a treadmill with, of course, some little speedometers and everything there. And of course, you get a little minifigure right there as well. Very nice sticker detail. And by the way, most, if not all, the details on this are stickers. So obviously, that's a sticker in the cockpit. Obviously, the seats are stickered. This is a sticker there, stickers on here, just stickers everywhere, right? And believe it or not, these are actually removable, these. So you could, in theory, take this out, though it is going to be kind of hard to do, so probably don't recommend that. But taking a look at this little section here, there's actually some little secrets in here. So if you open this up and you take out these little tiles, you'll find tiny little, if I have to get it in focus, these little walkie-talkies. Or actually no, they're like little dehydrated food packs. How neat is this? So we got what looks like some peas right there, dehydrated peas. Now we also have some dehydrated sausages. And we have some dehydrated apples. Yeah, so that's very nice to see. And of course that all fits neatly back into the little compartment here. Even though it's a little easier said than done to actually get them all in there, because it is kind of a tight squeeze. So you do have to be careful. And once you get them all in there, you simply lock it back up like that. Very, very simple. So just so you can see again, you just open it up. and then it just clicks right back in place. Very, very nice little bit of detail there. Now, of course, at the front, there is some more fun to be had, such as, of course, the working steering. So if we zoom the camera out, if you turn this gear at the top, the little wheels at the front will steer, which is very nice to see. And it's actually quite interesting how they design this on the actual set. So evidently, it's just a gear system that goes straight through the front half of the vehicle here. And of course, there's some gears that go through as well. And all that links up to a little toothed little bar that allows for the steering, which is very nice to see. So now let's go ahead and spin around to the side here and get some more looks at the side here. Of course, there's a lot of fun stuff in the back, but and of course, there's plenty more accessories to look at. But to take a look at the side here, you guys can see some more of the sticker detail right there. And you'll also notice this conspicuous yellow piece. That's going to come into play later. Just gotta say that for the record. That comes into play later. Of course, we have some more just engines and fuel tanks, or whatever case may be. And then we come back here, and again, this is where the fun begins. So first and foremost, we have these little tiny light posts. And these do come out, and they are just very nicely little detailed light sticks. So you can just imagine taking those off and sticking those on the ground to mark various locations on Mars, because believe it or not, this is designed to work on Mars. But I'm assuming on other various planets it could work as well. Though, of course, as described by the box, this is just a concept, right? This is not based on like one-to-one replication of a real-life vehicle. It's more so just a neat little concept, right? So that's all it's meant to be. So those do come off. Now, of course, we have this part right here, which, if you notice, does have a little gear mechanism, and this is a crane arm. So if we can actually get this unfolded, it does have several different hinges, so it does unhinge to quite the length, as you can see. Matter of fact, I actually have to loosen up the hook here to get this all the way out. Just very, very carefully. And there you go. So there you have the crane arm fully extended. Also ignore my computer in the background. Actually, I'm going to move that real quick. There we go. Because you do need quite a bit of room just to show off this thing. But yeah, check out this crane arm. How nice is this? Now, as I've already kind of revealed, it does have a working winch, which is very simple to activate. You just simply turn the little arm here, and the hook will descend. And it does descend to quite the length. So just to kind of show that off real quick for you guys, gonna have to unwinch it completely. Actually, matter of fact, it's actually rewinding. Hold on. Let me get this winch out completely, because it is a little bit, kind of messed up there. There we go. Actually, I need to get it off my desk so you guys can see how long it is. Yeah, that's quite the long string. And of course, to rewind it, it is just as easy to rewind it. You just simply keep twisting either left or right, and it will twist all the way back up. Though it does take a minute or two to actually go all the way up. And there you go. So there you have the crane arm. Very, very nice to see. And of course, you can angle it in various other directions as well, thanks to this extra little knob right here, which if we twist it, as you see, it slowly raises and or lowers the actual boom of the crane, which is really, really nice to see. And it uses a very simple mechanism right there, using that little, what do you call it, almost like a piston right there, to make that move. And of course, in various other sets that I have, there's a couple that utilize this mechanic. Not a lot, but so you guys can see how tall it can go. As you can see, you can really get some reach on this sucker. And of course, to re-winch it, it's just as easy to do. Just spin the gear, and down she comes. And that's about as low as it goes. So not very low. But it does move around, and that is what is important. Now, of course, to close this thing up, it's very simple to do. You just simply lower the crane just a little bit, get this folded up. And of course, what's nice is it does have this little red spot, so that way you can just easily spool it back in when you're closing it. And then you just simply fold the little crane back up. And the string is gonna come loose on here. Great. Okay, so we wanna like flop that up like that. Matter of fact, let me re-wrench it all the way back in. There we go. So there you have the crane arm all folded up, and you can just very easily twist it so that way it's flush with the rest of the vehicle. Very, very nice to see. Now let's move on to the back completely. So here's the back. And of course I gotta get myself resituated because, oh boy, I'm all over the place this morning. Here you have the back section, and it does look quite nicely detailed. Of course, we have the crane arm that we just showed off on this side, and you do have this center port right here, which does have some nice sticker detail. Now, if you open this, you can actually get this little porthole right here. Now, what is the point of this? Well, essentially, if you have any of the other space Lego Technic Space 2024 sets, you can actually hook them up to each other to make like a little space diorama, which I think is super, super cool that you can do that. But it is kind of a shame you have to buy multiple of these sets to actually utilize this feature. But still, it is nice there, so that is really, just really, really neat to see. Now, of course, on to this section right here, because if you notice the gears right there, yes, there is another play function here. In this case, we have a raising and lowering rear loading bay. So if we twist this gear right there, the whole arm will lower. And it goes quite low. Matter of fact, it goes all the way to the ground. Perfect. And then you just simply push down this little section, and we get some more molded, not molded, but sticker details for the little loading section. So on here, you could, in theory, load up different crates. You could load up various different, like Moon, like Mars, like samples or various other equipment onto here. Or as a matter of fact, you could actually probably get some crewmates on here and get some astronauts on there. And then you just flip this whole section back up, and then you just simply go reversed to slowly bring it back up. So that is super, super cool as well. Now, of course, let's move on to this section on the side here, which if I turn the whole thing to this section, we have yet another little crate. So it does unfold. I will say that it does unfold, but of course we'll have to wait till later here in the review to show off this thing fully opened. But as you'll see in here, you have a various collection of little fuel tanks. Check this out. Or maybe they're supposed to be like samples. I have no idea. The instructions don't say, so I guess it's just left up to our imagination as to what they are. I like to think they're fuel tanks of some kind. And they do very nicely just go back into their little cubby here. Even though here it's not exactly sitting right. There we go. And we get them in several different colors. We get 4 red, 2 of these blue ones, and then we get 2 of the white ones. So very nice to see. Of course, these all very nicely sit there, and as you'll notice, they do have little hoops on the top, as you can see right there. So that means that with the crane, yes, you can actually carry and, place in these little fuel tanks, though it's going to take absolutely forever to do, so I'm not even going to attempt it here on video. But you can imagine for yourselves how that would work. Just really, really cool to see. Of course, on this side, we get some more lights. So yeah, they really like lights here on this thing. And we get some more sticker detail right on this side. So you guys can see that. So you got that going on. Now, of course, there is this little antenna on the side as well, which if I zoom out, you can move that up. So that way you can get some reception whilst you're out there in space. So you can go back to mission control, that type of thing. And yeah, it's just really, really nice. But also at the same time, like, I just love just how lavish this thing is. Because if this was a real vehicle, I mean, you'd be lavished. Like y'all are living lavish out there in space if this was real. So, guess I might as well just sign up for the space program right now. Okay, jokes aside, let's go ahead and show off the last feature, at least for the vehicle itself, and that is the working suspension system. So you guys can see, very easy, very simple suspension system, so that way you can go over the various rocks and valleys and various different, humps and bumps on Mars. And of course, on the front here, it also works as well. And funnily enough, in tandem with the steering. So as you guys can see, it does have a little bit of suspension there. Now, the suspension travel does actually go a lot farther, which I believe now ties into our next major gimmick with this one. And that, again, involves these yellow little locks here and here. So what you do is you just very simply pull these out on each side. And just give this thing a gentle tug. And all of a sudden, your rover goes from being rather small and compact to being absolutely colossal. Yes! So this is probably one of, if not the coolest features that this thing can do. Now, of course, when you do this, you have to be careful as things will pop off if you're not careful. So just a word of caution when you're doing this. And then once it's all out, you can just very simply take these little axles here, these little locks, and then you just simply pop them back into place on each side. And there you have the full rover all opened up. And yeah, now it's no longer a rover. It's more like a space bus, if anything. So, and of course, as per usual, with the base form, the steering does still work, obviously. The suspension travel also still works. But on the front, as you will see now, it has fully flexed suspension here, so you can see just how wide that suspension can really go. Yeah, this thing got some real travel on those wheels. So, moving around on Mars is not going to be a problem with this thing. That's for sure. And now let's go ahead and fix up the back here. So let's go ahead and open this whole section up. Because as I said, this does open up all the way. Okay. If I can actually get it to open up nicely. There we go. And now let's get into some of the other accessories that comes with this rover. So let's start off with this crate right here. So this little crate does look quite nice. And it's just a simple little crate, right? So you got this little sticker detail with, of course, cautions. You got like some locking mechanisms detailed there. Got some warning signs. Of course, you got something in there, it looks like. And then you got what looks like some tools there. Get off, gook. All right, and then we have the other side right there. So, what exactly is in this crate? Well, what better than to have, I can actually adjust the camera, open this up like so, and then you just give a little push, or just dump it out a little bit, and out comes a even smaller baby rover. Yes, so you get a baby rover with this. Of course, the little antenna does come up, just like that. And you have these little arms that fold forward. And there you go. So there is your little baby rover, and it is very well detailed. Of course, on the back here, we have some more like warning signs and techno jargon. And just like the main rover, it does have working suspension and real rubber tires. So that is really nice to see. So, and it also rolls like rolling things should. And compared to the actual rover itself, I mean, do I need to say more? Do I need to say more? Did we like Lego? Like, level me right quick. Did you really need to provide us with the teeny tiny rovers? That way we can understand just how colossal this thing is. Did we really need to have the teeny tiny rover? But anyhow, so there are some little accessories that you can put on the teeny tiny rover, such as, well, these tools right here. So just so you can see, you can easily pop them off the rack, even though they are very nicely secured in there. So you do have to be kind of careful because you might break them. There you go. So you could put the little hammer like in this arm right there, so that way it can like hammer away at some rocks. And then you have a little tool right here, this little wrench, which if I can actually pop it out of there, you could put into this arm, so that way it could maybe do some repairs on the rover. And of course, you could also use it to repair the little rover itself. Though sadly, you don't get any minifigures with this, so you'll have to provide your own, unfortunately. Putting that back in the rack. Of course, we also have this little saw blade as well, which we can stick in there. And you could imagine it, just cutting away, sort of mining away at some Mars rocks, collecting samples, that type of thing. Whilst at the same time smashing and clearing away any dust and, space rock. So, really, really nifty little thing. And it is quite posable as well, as you got a full, right, little axle sort of pin connection right there. So you can spin this all the way around. And of course, you can move it up and down. And you have a nice little ratchet joint right there for the actual, I guess you could say, the elbow for the little mechanical arms there. So that is very nice to see. And of course, we can just take the little hammer, put that back in there, take off the buzzsaw, and put that right back in here. And to close the rover back up, it's very, very simple. Just take the arms, make sure they're completely straightened out, fold them along the back, and then take the little, what was that, satellite? Yeah, and fold that onto the back. And then you just take it with the satellite facing the back, and you just push it right back in and close it up. Very, very simple. And that just loads right onto this section right here on the rover. This little white panel. So you just take the little pins, line them up, and now that is connected to the rover. Very, very simple. Nice, secure connection. Doesn't really flop around too much. Okay, let's move on to some other smaller accessories. Putting you to the back again. Let's take a look at the little bins that are included. As yes, you get bins. So here are the two bins. So let's take a look at the green one first. And this green one does look quite nice. If the camera will focus on it. Focus. Focus. Focus, please. Thank you. Alright, so here is the green bin. Of course, it has a very nice sticker detail. S01 Recycle. Of course, this is a recycle bin. And, of course, it has a very nice lock at the top with another little loop on it, so that way the little crane arm can carry around the bin. So, just to quickly pop off the lid, there are some little bits of garbage that you get with it, or were supposed to be little bits of garbage. If you remember my, the Mack garbage truck that I looked at earlier last year, same idea here. So we get a couple of these different little pieces in here. We got, I believe, 1, 2, 3, 4, I believe we got 6. Yeah, 6 of these little light gray sort of little tiles, round tiles. Then we get 5 of these dark gray tiles. So just pop those right in there. And then we get 3 little black tiles. So that is very, very neat. And then, of course, to close it back up, you just simply close the bin up like that. And there you have your recycle bin. Now let's move on to the second bin, which doesn't really have a name. It's just caution. So I'm guessing this is like hazardous material bin. So, of course, we have a S02. We have a little caution sign there. Of course, this side up, that type thing. Of course, we have some nice representations of garbage in there. And then on the other side, same thing, just mirrored. Of course, if we pop the lid off, we can dump it out and take a look at all the little pieces inside. So, of course, right here we have, I believe, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of these orange tiles. Get a look at that. So we get 6 of those. We get 6 of these light orange tiles. And we get 2 of these sort of off orange tiles. And of course, to close it back up, just pop on the lid like that. And there you have your caution bin. Now, of course, these can be stored on the Rover. So just turn it onto this side. So you have the camera back out. And of course, as we unfolded it, we now have a second storage compartment, which is conveniently big enough to house the 2 bins. So just take both bins and just gently plop them in place. There you go. Now you have the bins on the back of the Rover. And there is one last, but certainly not least, bit of accessory that you get with this guy. And that, of course, being this container right here. Now, evidently by the sticker detail, this is apparently supposed to be a fuel cell, and quite a big one too, evidently to power this giant, dork. So as you can see on the side there, we get the fuel tank or fuel cell logo right there. Of course, we have some lock details there as well. Of course, on the back, we have some techno jargon, so that way I'm guessing you could like power on or off the power cell, or just check the power level or that type of thing. Of course, you have the H2. Of course, you have another fuel cell right there. The little lock. And then we have the front here. So this here is actually a little cable. So if we pop this out and try not to break the whole set whilst you're doing it. Let me see if I can actually get this out. Okay, this might actually be harder than it looks. Okay, hold on. There we go. Because that is quite secure on there. So we have this little cord right here, which you can unwind. And it does extend to quite the length. As you can see. Can't even get it all on frame, it's so long. Yes, you get a very nice long cable, and also, wow, the sun is like just beaming right now. Because I guess even the sun's just appreciating how awesome this set is. And believe it or not, you can actually open up the power cell from here, which is, again, very simple to do. You just simply pop open these sides here, just like so. And then you can pop open this side as well. Just pop those open. Oh. Okay, that's not supposed to happen. Okay, pop this out like that. And then you can open up the panels like this and take this whole section off. And what you're left with is the internals of the power cell. So you can see all the little panels and of course the little battery sort of details right there, represented with those nice little red pieces. And of course you can get a better look at the little panel in there. So that is very, very nice to see, that little bit of detail. And of course, to assemble it all back, it's very simple to do. Just simply flop over the panels like that, and then just peg in all the little gray pegs into place, or back into place rather. And then you just peg this one in. There you go. Now, alternatively, if you don't want to take that whole section off, you can also very simply just fold up the panel so you can see the detailing that way as well. And that works for both sides. So that's very nice to see. Now, of course, with the cable out, you could, in theory, maybe refuel various different vehicles with this. You could also... you could also have it like refuel smaller vehicles, maybe somehow refuel the main power cells on the vehicle itself, whichever one comes first. Or whichever one you choose, you can do. And believe it or not, there is a port right there. So in theory, what we could do is just simply plug the little gray nozzle into that little red port. And just like that, in theory, you could pretend that you are refueling the actual Rover, which is really, really nice to see. And again, some just fantastic play value with this thing. And of course, you just pop this out and very easily just rewind it around the little sort of spool you have there. So just wind that back up. Or actually, I think you want to do that the reverse direction. I think's how you want to do it. So you actually want to go up and over, yeah, like this, to wind the little thing back up. Now, of course, you don't want to wind it all the way back up. You just want to wind it up just enough so that we can get it in there like that. And there you have the fuel tank all closed back up again. So there you have that. And of course, that can easily be stored on the Rover itself. Just pick a spot, any spot, and just plop it onto the Rover. Now, of course, the instructions say to put it like on the back like this. But of course, if you could turn it around, you could potentially stick it in here, you know, kind of just lay it in there like that, or you could just stick it over here like that. You know, you don't have to stick it in somewhere neatly, but of course, if you want to get it into a neat spot, you'll want to just, okay. And of course, the crane arm wants to be difficult. So let me maybe turn the gear around. There we go. So that way you can stick it on the back just like that. And with that, guys, that pretty much does it for the basic overview of the Mars Crew Exploration Rover. So, there we go. My zoom was acting all funky there for a second. But yeah, very, very impressive set, I realize, and so much fun just to fiddle around with. And of course, to get it back into its base form, it's pretty easy to do. Just come to the back, remove the bins, right? And then you want to take the Rover assembly, the mini Rover assembly, take that out. And then you want to take the power cell, and you take that out as well. Then you take the back section, fold it up until it nicely flops into place there. And then, of course, you want to take the little yellow locks, pull them out. And then you give it a gentle push to close it all back up. Now, of course, these little light pull things are going to get hung up, so I prefer to have them off the Rover, so that way you can more neatly push it into place. And of course, for the actual mechanical arm, you do want to have that lifted ever so slightly up, so that way it doesn't bump into anything too much. So you do just want to have that up right there. And then once you got it all the way closed, you can then take the little locks and pop them right back in. And they should just very neatly snap into place. Though sometimes they do get a little bit stuck. So hold on a second. Might actually need to fiddle with this. Just a tad. Okay. Come on, you. There we go. Wait, I don't have it fully closed. There we go. Yeah, sometimes, yeah, you'll know if it's not fully closed because the little locks won't go in correctly. If it's not completely flush with the little locks and different little holes and whatnot, pinholes on the actual Rover there. So, with that, again, that concludes our overview of the Rover. Just an absolutely fantastic set. Just really, really impressive. And of course, with the sun just beaming down on it, I think even God himself is just admiring how awesome this thing is. So, thanks, God. But anyway, let's go ahead now and talk a little bit more about the rover itself. Though, again, there isn't really much information on this rover itself because this is based on a purely conceptual model. This is not based on an actual rover that exists in the world yet. But as a concept, there is some basic, characteristics that I can talk about in regards to this rover. So let's dive right in. So, this Mars rover draws inspiration from several key aspects of NASA's Mars rover concepts. Let's start off with mobility, with the wheel design. NASA rovers utilize specialized wheels with intricate tread patterns to navigate challenging Martian terrains, including rocky surfaces, sand dunes, and steep inclines. And evidently, these wheels can do that. So, that is all well and good. And also, in regards to the wheels, I can't believe it's only till now that I've actually mentioned this, but these little hubcaps are, I believe, brand new molds for this set. So, that is also nice to see. And I believe that this rubber color is also new for these wheels. So that's new as well. Almost forgot to include that. So, good going, me. Anyway, now let's move on to the all-terrain capabilities. NASA designs rovers to traverse a variety of landscapes. This model incorporates features that suggest the ability to handle different terrains, evidently because of the rough, rugged tires with heavy tread. Of course, we're already showing off the all-terrain suspension on the back. And of course, when it's fully extended into its full form, it can get even more suspension travel out of the front. So yes, that does quantify as a proper rover. Now let's talk about scientific instrumentation, such as remote sensitivity. So the NASA rovers are equipped with various instruments like cameras, spectrometers, and radars to study Martian environments, geology, and potentially for past or present life. Now, as we all know, or should know, there has been some evidence in recent years that point to there being some sort of form of life on Mars. Not anything like Martians. No, it's not like Mars Attacks, obviously. But, there is some microbacterium, tiny little forms of life on the planet. Which is quite interesting, considering for years, up until, more recent discoveries and space expeditions, conducted by NASA, of course, how we actually found out that there is actually life on Mars. No aliens, sadly, and certainly no demons like in Doom, but hey, there's some life on Mars, so that is good. That is good to see. So we're not just crazy out here, Habitation and sustainability. Life support systems. So future human missions to Mars will require advanced life support systems within the rover or nearby habitats. Now, evidently, we have showcased that with the gym area. Of course, we had the little dining area. And of course, if this rover were larger or potentially even larger rovers could have whole entire living quarters within them. That type of thing. So there is some form, at least on this particular rover, of a living quarters for the astronauts when they're exploring on Mars. So that is super cool. And now let's move on to resource utilization. NASA is exploring concepts with utilizing Martian resources, like water ice, for life support and fuel production. That could explain that blue tile that was on that weird device. That could be what that is. Maybe that is a resource. And maybe that's water that they could be taking from the planet, because there is water on Mars. That has been confirmed for years that there is water on Mars. And they could be harvesting that, in theory, and then filtering it with advanced filtration systems so that way we can drink them. So, drink from the water, right? So that is definitely something interesting there. Now let's talk about autonomous operations. So artificial intelligence, AI. NASA is developing advanced AI systems for future rovers to enable autonomous navigation, decision-making, and scientific exploration. This set, while not demonstrating the AI directly, does in fact suggest autonomous capabilities such as a control center or a communication system. Evidently, we do have this main cabin right here, which in theory, if we're going to speculate even further, this rover could have some form of autopilot on it. So there could just be a feature for where the drover can just go on cruise control and just drive itself. That is very much something it can do. And of course, with the little rover, the little baby rover we showed off, or I showed off earlier, they could use that to explore the surface, and of course that could be powered by AI to some degree, so that way it can, move semi-autonomously without having to be directly controlled by an astronaut. So that is something they could do. And of course, maybe we could go as far as to say that maybe even that little crane arm could also be AI controlled in some way. Though I highly doubt it. I'm pretty sure that would actually be completely controlled by an astronaut from the cockpit here, probably. But who knows? Sky's the limit. Right? And with that, that pretty much ends off my little lore dump on this particular rover. So, with that, guys, believe it or not, that's actually going to wrap it up for this review on the LEGO Technic Mars Crew Exploration Rover. Absolutely fantastic set. I mean, one of, if not the best sets of 2024 that I've gotten. And being the self-proclaimed LEGO Jay Leno himself, right? I can safely say this thing's just fantastic. Like, it's just wonderful, wonderful vehicle. And of course, if this was made into an actual rover, as I said, y'all astronauts would be living out there lavished, okay? Not to mention, like, with how tanky this thing is, I doubt this thing would take any damage from exploring Mars. And even then, if there were multiple of these on the planet, which would be crazy, and not to mention it just crazy expensive for the government to actually fund these things, right? I doubt they would take any real damage. If anything, the other vehicle would be damaged more so than this giant thing. But yeah, just fantastic, fantastic set. So, if you guys enjoyed this review, then please make sure to drop a like on this video, subscribe if you're new, and ring that notification bell so that way you guys get notified for all my uploads. Later, Eat Squad, and have a good one.